Hey, Reddit, I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but life's been crazy, and I feel like I need to get this off my chest. Here's the deal, I'm Sarah, 22, and I've always had a pretty normal family life. My dad, Richard, is a hardworking guy, pretty low-key, and a decent provider. Or at least that's what I thought. My mom passed away when I was young, and dad raised me on his own. He wasn't perfect, but I always felt safe with him. He was my rock. Fast forward to a few months ago. I started noticing some weird things happening around the house. Small stuff at first, like late-night phone calls and meetings that never seemed to be with anyone he knew. I didn't think much of it, everyone gets busy, right? But then it got weird. One evening, I was at home alone when I heard Dad's car pull up. It was pretty late, and I was just about to go to bed. I was about to grab my phone and scroll through some memes to fall asleep when I heard a knock on the door. I thought it was one of Dad's friends, but when I opened it, there was no one there. Just a briefcase sitting on the doorstep. I remember thinking, okay, that's odd. But I picked it up, figuring maybe Dad had left it outside by accident. When I opened it to bring it inside, my heart almost stopped. Inside the briefcase were stacks of cash, lots of it, in neat bundles. Now, I'm not stupid. I know the difference between normal cash and mafia-type money. I couldn't believe it at first. My dad? A criminal? It didn't make sense. I didn't know what to do. I was in shock, so I hid the briefcase in my room and just waited. Dad came inside like nothing happened. He didn't even notice that the briefcase was missing. But I knew I had to find out more. Over the next few days, I started watching him more closely. I caught him making more shady phone calls, talking in code, stuff I never thought I'd hear from him. He was obviously hiding something, and I felt this sick feeling in my stomach. One night, I followed him. I didn't tell anyone, but I just couldn't sit back and let this go. I trailed him to a small, dimly lit building on the outskirts of town. I watched from across the street as he walked in with a group of men. They were all dressed in suits, but there was something unsettling about the way they moved, almost like a pack. And one of them handed Dad an envelope, which he slipped into his jacket pocket. I should have left right then. But I didn't. I followed him when he left the building, and that's when I saw the unmistakable logo on his car's bumper, a symbol I recognized from TV and movies. I didn't know if it was just a coincidence, but the more I thought about it, the more everything clicked. The late nights. The secret meetings. The money. It was all adding up. I didn't confront him immediately. I needed answers. So, I did some digging. I started checking the names of the men he'd been hanging out with. And that's when it hit me, they were connected to a notorious crime syndicate. My dad was involved in something way over his head, and I couldn't believe it. A few days later, I confronted him. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe I thought he'd deny everything, or maybe he'd have some sort of explanation. But when I asked him directly about it, his face turned pale. He didn't even try to hide it. "Sarah, I wanted to protect you from this," he said, his voice shaky. "I've been trying to get out, but it's complicated. These people, they don't let you leave once you're in." It felt like the world was crumbling around me. My dad, the man I trusted, was tangled up in this dangerous mess. And the worst part? He'd been keeping me in the dark for years. All those business trips and late nights at work had been code for illegal dealings. I didn't know what to do after that. I was scared for my dad, but I was also terrified for myself. I couldn't imagine how deep this went, and I didn't want to be dragged into it. He promised he'd get out of the mafia, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't going to be that simple. Fast forward to now, things are still tense. He's trying to keep me out of it, but I can't just forget what I've seen. It's hard to look at him the same way. I'm caught between love for my dad and the fear of what this could all mean for our future. I don't know what to do. I've been thinking about talking to the authorities, but I'm scared it'll just make things worse for us. If anyone has been through something like this or has any advice, I could really use it. Anyway, thanks for listening. I didn't think I'd ever find myself in a situation like this, but here we are.